G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Fishing with the Captain. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Midweek, getting ready for the weekend to head out for a fish, but what I want to do is, you're right, going through a lot of my fishing gear, cleaning the boat, giving it a good vacuum, sorting the gear out after a couple of sessions. Got a little bit lazy in putting my gear away where it should be, but nonetheless, got it all sorted. And while I've got it out, I realised I've got a very big contrast between when I fish the Murray, so like or the Bidgie, the Murray River, or river system, or when I go to a clear impoundment lake. It's completely different to say a place like Mulwala, Copeton, Blairing, Eildon. All lures I have and the way I have them laid out are completely different to each other. It's a big contrast. It's not to say that one style won't work across the board, or you can't take a certain lure style or pattern or technique to another lake and it won't work. Of course it will, to a certain extent. Everyone has their little niche of what they're probably good at, or ways they fish it. They might be slightly different than the next person and probably do a little bit better on a certain lure type than others. Probably my best sort of rundown on lure types, and probably just a couple of scenarios where I'd use them, and give you probably my top three. If I had 3 rods on the deck ready to go, on what they would be. Actually, I got checked by fisheries on my last trip at the ramp, and just asked him the curiosity how many rods you're allowed to have rigged at any one time. You're allowed to have as many as you want rigged, but using or casting at any one time, I think it was 2. So you control with 2. Counts as 2 lures in the water. Don't quote me on it, could be wrong, but he asked me if I was only throwing 1 at the time, and I said yes, and he goes, oh, it's more than fine, obviously. But I am aware that in New South Wales, I think it's like, again, don't quote me on it, 2 or 3 are allowed to be rigged on the deck, on the floor, that you aren't using. So the lures on them laying on the floor while you're obviously casting one or trolling one. You can have others rigged, but you can't have 10 rods on the locker or on the deck of the boat ready to go. Best be checking those laws and regs, because I know some people that have been done, law that not a lot of people consider or think about. So nonetheless, I'm going to run you through my sort of, not day to day, but starting point on what I do to sort of like cover the water column and sort of search out a bit of a pattern if there is one. And then I usually branch off and go from there. If I key into a sort of technique, then obviously I'll modify my lures to suit. But no, I'll show you a couple that usually get in the starting lineup. So here we go. There's a heap of lure styles that will just work across the board, like lake, river, doesn't matter, they'll just work. But a very good searching tool that I found, especially in particular a lake that I've never gone to. I want to cover water, but do it effectively as much as possible. It's effectively cover water without spending too much time, but you still have to keep moving. So you have to find that happy medium in regards to doing it effectively, yet don't be wasting too much time in one area. So one thing that I will throw in that sort of situation, sort of starting below mid-water column, something I can search with would have to be a Mumbler. So like a chatterbait, bladed jig. A lot of you might know this one's a 1 ounce bass, man. I've got a big 9-inch plastic on the back of that. And one thing I do when I get all spinnerbaits, mumblers out the packet, there's no disheart to the way they're being rigged. I just have the way I like to rig it, and especially having stinger hooks nowadays, or hooks in general, they can be either too fine gauge and real flimsy and you have to change them out, or ones you get it with, they're really strong, quality hooks, but they take a lot to penetrate, especially the larger Murray cod, their mouth in particular, pretty much like rubber, like pretty much trying to sink a hook into a leather boot. Like, it's not an easy job, especially if you've got a heap of line out, and you have to try and swing and make sure that you try and bury those hooks before he actually coughs it up. So nonetheless, I actually run Gamakatsu SL12 hooks. Now these hooks are absolute sticky sharp. I'll try to get it close up. See how the lure has actually got a curved point, like the point actually curves back in itself. There, seriously, it just has a curved point, and this still penetrates bone. Now, this might be going off track for the completely different species, but again, saltwater experience has paid massively in the freshwater scene in finding fish, and even down to its rigging technique. So like, this has been a big mainstay, because what I'm trying to get at is these hooks penetrate at only, we've had to penetrate at 2 kilos of pressure. Now traditionally they're a saltwater fly hook. This off memory is an 8.0, and they actually penetrate. We've had to penetrate. We've tested at 2 kilos of drag pressure. I've hooked fish outside the face, underneath the chin with minimal pressure. 8, 10, 11.0 they make them up to, and yeah, awesome hook and sticky sharp. So that's without going off track too much, that's much in a nutshell. And also same deal with a spinnerbait, and nearly everyone has one. Same sort of deal, throwing it down rock walls, lay down timber. It's very much a great search bait, especially in the lakes. I like to chop off one of the blades and only run a single. That way you can get down that little bit faster, but still hold that throbbing action, that Colorado, or if you choose to run a single willow, that's cool. You just might have to keep your rod tip up a bit or wind slightly faster, because it will sink a lot quicker. But it does pay off in your favor, especially if you like fishing that deeper water. Yeah, definitely pays running that single blade. Deep diving crankbaits. Now, not a lot of people associate hard bodies with casting. A lot of it's with the troll. Nothing wrong with that. It catches fish. Keep doing it. Big part of my cast and retrieving on hard bodies has been this lure in particular has made me do it probably a lot more often than I used to, simply because it's just got that real big deep diving action, but without that vibrating action in your hand. And then when you put your rod down after doing it 3-4 hours, your hand feels numb. This is a Megabass Big M 7.5. Now on the cast, I can punch down to 7-8 meters, no worries at all. Having such a big bib, but yet very narrow, it crash dives quick, but it doesn't have such a hard action. It's got a very tight shimmy, but a body roll. And as you can hear, it's got those rattles in it. I don't like those little tinny rattles, like some lures have. It's a nice solid clunking action, clunking noise. So nonetheless, the Big M 7.5. Moving up to probably one of my favorites. And a lot of people know I always have one of these rigged on the deck of my boat. Regardless of size, one of the rods has it. Swim baiting. It's hard to go past the mag draft. This is actually my first ever mag draft, and she barely swims now. It's torn up that much, and it's been super glued, and it's pretty much a zombie. It's been glued and repaired that many times, but it still works, still catches fish. That's a brand new one straight out the packet. But you can see even then I've rigged that with twin hooks on top, run them together. I've got a 120 pound Dacron up top. That's pretty much what, if you haven't seen my other video on rigging swing and assist hooks, that's a similar sort of deal. And what I've got there is just a piece of wire. I've bent it into 2 pieces, so it's pretty much like I hope the camera can pick that up. Pretty much like a paper clip even. You can poke it through and use that to pin it on the bait. And I've got it just sitting in front of that fin there, the hydro fin. And yeah, I'm not having it come out as much. I know running the wire underneath, I was doing that for a fair while, but it started to become a little bit of a pain in the ass how I had to keep sticking it back in there. But no, I found this way and it doesn't come out. Still pins the fish perfectly to the roof of the mouth, but saying that, a lot of the fish are still coming on that main hook. Like realistically, I don't know, I think there'd only be like literally a handful of fish that have come on a stinger hook, any stinger hook, even running stinger hooks on the 8-inch. I'm still finding the fish getting pinned on that front hook. So these can be just like seriously worked through mid-water, top part of the water column. You can even can them down and sink them right down deep and slow roll them. It's literally a tool to whatever you want it to be. So nonetheless, that's a great searching lure, but also imitating the bait. And yeah, the hookup ratio is very good, even running with no stingers, just because like when the fish inhale, it's just so floppy, it just folds up completely. Like there's no stiff bits in it, and that's also another reason why I run the cord up on top of the assist cord, because it's just completely floppy. There's nothing stiff about it, and it just runs true all the time. Yeah, it just does the job awesome. So that's usually on another rod. So, but also its cousin I have rigged up, which is called the Megabass Mag Slayer. This is a 9-inch lure. They make him down in a 7 as well. I've got this in a 9. This sinks slightly faster than the Mag Draft. As you can see, it's just generally a little bit more slender shape. It just gets down that little bit quicker, and also holds its depth a bit more. So when I'm slow rolling it or working it through the timber, through the water column, it doesn't want to plane up to the top. It will literally hold itself and track down at that same depth the whole way, so which is pretty handy. I found that because actually a good percentage of my bites are coming from that, probably that last third between of the cast coming back to the boat, and there's been a lot of times where the bites are almost vertical, but like, yeah, still that 4 meters down, making its way back up to the boat, and I'm getting crunched underneath the boat. So that's played a massive part in that. That's the 9-inch Mag Slayer. That's, I believe, the nude rainbow color. Yeah, it's proven performer for me, and it's also I've got it rigged there on a weedless beast hook. For those that have been asking, I've got that rigged on a 12-0 with a 3/8 ounce weight. I've got a video on that, using that and swimming that and pulling some fish on that. If you haven't checked that out, I'll leave the link for that. So the Megabass Mag Slayer and the 9-inch. Now fishing, again, searching water, but also if you wanted to slow down and imitate the bait or chase the fish harder, you've already narrowed down what you want to do, a bit of a game plan. The Megabass Battalion 190. Yeah, I've got the slow floating model here, but it's also got an option for a chin weight. Yeah, I'm running a 5/8 on that, and on the cast and slow retrieve, I'll get down to 4 meters on a slow roll, but again, I can slow sink it down. Then it's completely up to you. You can swim this down at 10 meters of water, no worries at all, on a long cast, sinking it down, and then going through the motions of slow rolling it. Rocky points, rock walls, even down to the big open points or big open banks, weed edges, no problems at all. And also up in that shallower water, taking that off, and it will actually dive down about a meter and a half without a weight. So it's very versatile lure, but again, imitates that sort of carp profile pretty well. So carp, bony brim, roach. So yeah, it does that very well. So that is that. Now moving on to a lot of people's favorite way to chase cod, surface. Especially in big impoundment dams, it's not really a technique that a lot of people will actually go out and pursue with. I'm sure a lot of people have given it a crack but never really stuck to it or committed to it. It's not a way to get a lot of fish. It is a way to get fish. Generally you can get that bit better quality, but yeah, who doesn't love a surface bite? So one of my favorites has been working and hard to go by personally. Pretty much just a paddler. In this case, I've got this big cod cracker here. I'm running it with some swing and assist that I've tied myself. And then yeah, just running a big treble on the front with double split ring. Yeah, it's actually got me a lot of fish. So yeah, so there's that, but then also paddler, but also a wake bait. So pretty much what I've got here, actually I've got it rigged on one of my rods. This was actually going to lead into the next thing I was going to talk about, my starting lineup. So I've already got this on as one of my favorites. All rigged, ready to go, is the Garuda. Now I'm running that unweighted. Yeah, I haven't got a weight on there at the moment, and yeah, as is, cranking it down and probably get down to that 3 to 5 foot mark on a long cast. But yeah, it's got the option for a chin weight there. But this has actually accounted me since this season, probably so this year. It's probably got me more fish in the boat than any other lure in the boat. And I've obviously, coming into the season, I will try and spread out the swim time between each lure, even as much as I can, because it's easier to say, oh, this lure is the best, but in actual fact that's the only lure you've ever used. So I try to give each lure even amount of swimming time until I can also sort of go, right, that lure is actually working because it's good, not because I'm throwing it 99% of the time. So yeah, very buoyant, very resistant against snag. So what I mean about that is it's not snagless, it's just it can be swim through timber and walk through timber so much easier than, say, I reckon it's actually better than a spinnerbait or a mumbler through timber. Not gonna lie, and every now and then, once or twice for the session, you have to go in and shake it off the tree, but I'm not scared to throw this into some heavy timber, heavy cover. Walks it very easily. I've had a lot of fish walking it over timber and then getting crunched on the other side of the timber coming out of it. So it's been it's earned its place on the deck of the boat very readily. It's also, like I was saying earlier, it's got the chin weight there, so I can effectively swim this down very much like the Battalion. 10 meters of water if I wanted to, no worries at all. Realistically, you could slow troll it. I'd imagine this would actually have a great action on the troll, sitting that a couple foot down. But yeah, no, this has been a consistent producer. Casts really well, especially into the breeze. If I hold my rod tip high a little bit and dead slow crawl it, I can you do wake bait it. So it pretty much sits below the surface, and this tail section sits just above. So pretty much from here to the tail is out the water, and I can see a big bow wave coming off the nose of the lure. So it's obviously sitting on a bit of an angle, and it's waking its way along. And then adding a chin weight, go further down near the bottom of the water, up to about 10 plus meters if you wanted to, whatever you're fishing. So that's actually a very good search bait, because you can have a chin weight in your pocket, do a couple of casts, and you notice you're coming into a bit deeper water, or whatever, you start moving into deep water as the day progresses, and yeah, you just pull it out your pocket, snap her on, and you're away, and you're not having to chop, change, or put a new lure on, or modify in any other way. It's literally pretty much just yeah, snapping it on and off, and away you go. The Megabass Garuda, for that purpose, I'd say it's in my top 3. Probably my next choice would be this bad boy. Running 8-inch mag draft is just a mainstay. I've caught actually more meter fish on the 8-inch than I have on the 10-inch. There's no need for a massive heavy swim bait setup to be throwing it. It can be thrown on your medium sort of setup without, casting your arm off, throwing this big heavy lure, lugging it around everywhere. It's just an overall consistent producer. Swimming it higher, letting it sink down, fishing it deeper. Yeah, it's just a very good producer. And on the 8-inch, I used to run stinger hooks, but to me personally, I don't see it being necessary really. If you're missing little bites on this, then they're probably fish that you wouldn't want to have caught anyway. I'm talking about better class of fish. Generally the fish that you would have belted it and not hooked up probably would be on the smaller side, just with that one treble there. Bit of debate is, do I upgrade it, the treble, hook, ring, swivel? That's completely up to you. Each to their own. I don't upgrade it. I'm happy. I've flogged it. I've tested it. I've speaking to mates of mine that have flogged it, and they haven't had any issues with the hook. So I leave it. Look, if you have doubts about your terminals, hooks, ring, whatever, then I highly suggest you change it. Nonetheless, that's the Megabass 8-inch mag draft. That'll be on my second outfit. So, top three lures for me to tie on in an impoundment. No doubt, Garuda. Garuda for me would be a big game player. Not just a confidence thing, but it just gets the results when other things have failed. And like I said earlier about the versatility of snapping on and off weights. So pretty much you get a wake bait, a swim bait, then, well, pretty much a swim bait that just can go deeper if you want it to. Not just by retrieve speed, but just snapping a weight on and off, and then you've got yourself a wake bait on, you know, later on in the session without having to chop and change. So that's a massive pro. Hookup ratio is awesome, and yeah, the action's awesome as well. It comes in a couple great colors, and yeah, walks through the timber again, awesome again. So very versatile and productive. So that's why the Megabass Garuda gets a tick of approval for me to be on the deck of the boat. Second would definitely be mag draft, as explained earlier. It would depend on where I'm fishing, if I went a 10 or an 8-inch. But to start, I would throw the 8, but going to an area where I've experienced better class of fish, or if I'm specifically chasing that big fish, I will throw the 10-inch, especially that pre-spawn period. But searching and just getting numbers on the board, definitely that 8. And then yeah, third but not least, now it'd have to be a big surface paddler, or a big, yeah, pretty much a big surface paddler, especially in the impoundments. I like to make as much noise as I can. I want the presence to be out there, and just, especially being clear water, I just want to make the fish know that this lure is there and it's making its way across the water. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what are your 3 lure types, your 3 go-tos when you're chasing impoundments? There might be some lures that you've had some success on previously, or some lures that you just love the action of, or the versatility. Yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys. I'd really like to hear back from you guys. And yeah, a massive thank you to you guys for supporting me on this channel, and seeing some of you guys out there on the water and even out and about. It's been awesome coming over and saying g'day, put some faces to your names. But a little bit of a sneak peek, if you like, I've got some Captain apparel coming. That's only a matter of a week away, I believe, from when this video gets posted. We've got about a week or so before it makes an appearance. So guys, stay tuned. If you're not following on Instagram, suss that out. I'm Captain Tomo. I'll be posting all the updates of the channel on there, regarding the apparel. Yeah, I've got some more shit to do. A couple more views to be tipped in. Nonetheless, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fishing with the Captain. Until next time, cheers.